Welcome back to CVTV Sports Week in Review. Mike Neville and Tucker Warner along with you. High school basketball wrapping up the regular season, getting ready for tournament play. We're going to have the playoff matchups for you in just a minute, but did want to tell you about a couple of key games earlier this week. Colonial Forge was on the road at Hilton in a key matchup because the winner would grab the top seed in the upcoming tournament, and unfortunately it's not Colonial Forge. Hilton pulling out the 60-54 decision over Colonial Forge on Tuesday night. That snapped a 17-game winning streak for Jason John's Colonial Forge Eagles. TJ Flood leading the way for Colonial Forge with 17 points. Once again, Eagles not playing with one of their top players, Marco Haskins. Not sure what the situation is, but he's missed the last couple of games. Understand it's not an injury, so it's obviously being disciplined, but they would love to have him back for this tournament run. Of course, they are the defending 6A champions, so state champion.
Yeah, and I mean, I still think they'll make a deep run if and when they get Haskins back.
Right.
That's obviously going to be a huge addition to their team, getting him back.
Right.
He's one of their best players. And I think that with his absence, you can understand the 6-point loss to one of the toughest teams, again, in the 6A in the state. I think Hilton's that good.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. And the other thing, they lost back, I think it was in December, to John Marshall, Colonial Forge did, but then they responded nicely with that 17-game winning streak, and Coach John is hoping that they'll, be kind of a wake-up call to his ball club, and that they'll be able to, like you say, make a deep run and possibly win a second state championship at Colonial Forge. Culpeper was in action on Thursday night, and with a 79-50 victory over Spotsylvania. They are the top seed in the upcoming Conference 27 tournament. Has 5 players in double figures. When you have that happen, you're going to have success, and that's what Culpeper had.
Yeah, I think so. It's nice when you can always spread out the scoring. Yeah. Say if you can get all of those points from one, maybe 2 guys too, that's also nice, but it's going to be a lot better process for your team if you can get everybody scoring.
And I'll tell you, with those 5 players in double figures, whoever has to play them in the upcoming postseason, who are you going to key on? I mean, like say, Jermaine Butler led the way with a double-double for Culpeper on Thursday night. He tossed in 18 points, hauled in 10 rebounds for Culpeper in that victory. But again, very impressive, 5 players in double figures, especially at this level, at the high school level. You see it at college, maybe even in the pros, but at this level, it's hard to find 5 different players that are going to score in double figures for you. Not sure if this is a regular thing, but it certainly bodes well for them in the upcoming playoffs.
Yeah, and bully for them. That's a great thing you have. You've got so many players being able to contribute, directly to the scoreboard on there, and I'm sure you've got some pretty good defensive players on that team as well.
Exactly.
So, hey, nice to be Culpeper.
All right. Now we come to the top 5 rankings, our power rankings, and my understanding is there were some posts on Facebook saying they talking about the rankings. Let me tell you, it's not they, it's him. He does the rankings, so if you want to fire off a comment, make sure you address it to this guy, Tucker, okay? Leave Mike out of it, because Mike doesn't have anything to do with it. Anyways, give me your top 5.
Well, now that I've been thrown under the bus entirely, let's move on to the power rankings. Start with the girls' side, Mike.
Okay.
No, we've got Chancellor at number 5. They're 17-5. They've had a really good season. They're getting, a lot of scoring from their top 2 players, Jayla Harris, Sydney Jackson. They did get a loss this week. That was at Caroline. Tough team.
Yeah.
They followed it up with 2 wins at Eastern View and against King George. They're playing well. But they're not good enough to supplant our number 4 team right now, Colonial Forge. Moved them back up a spot. They're still one of the most talented teams in the area. 14-5, picked up 2 wins this year, including at Stafford. And that's a pretty solid team for the area. But that moves us on to number 3. We've got Fredericksburg Academy. They stay in the same spot as last week, even though I think they're playing the best basketball of their season. They're 15-2, got 2 wins this week, one of them on the road against Wakefield. But I still have the top 2 the same, although there's a little bit of a shakeup.
Right.
So number 2, I've got Mountain View. They did get an overtime win at Brook Point, but I think, if you're a team that's dominating, that's a game that you need to win in regulation.
Yeah.
At the very least, I've said, this whole year that they're playing a lot of close games because they're more defensive team than offensive team. But I think that, if you want to have a long postseason run, you need to make sure you're winning games in regulation.
Exactly. I agree with you.
So that means our new number 1 team for girls basketball is James Monroe. 17-2, got 3 wins this week, including 1 game at Cortland, who's one of the best teams that isn't ranked in this. They also beat Manassas Park and Brentsville. They're 17-2. They're playing great.
You've got a great 1-2 punch with Austin and Ditt.
And they're a young team, and Shakira Austin, a freshman, and probably their best player, just kept improving this whole season, and I think she's going to keep improving into the postseason.
Yep. Well, years ago we had Shay Shigag at Brook Point, who went on to play for North Carolina. I think this young Austin girl, she keeps improving. She's going to be playing Division I. We'll see her on national television, I'm sure.
I think so as well. So let's move on to the boys' side. We've got number 5, the team that already appeared in the girls' poll is James Monroe. They're 13-7. They won at Cortland, and Cortland was in danger of breaking their way back and stealing James Monroe's spot until that game happened. They did lose against Caroline, but again, Caroline, a really tough non-district team. And that's just a tough game for any of these area teams to win against. And, JM still held off Cortland. Got to put them at number 5. Number 4, I've got Riverbend. They fell down a little bit after that loss to Forest Park. They did win at Stafford in double overtime, a really close game. And though this team is really, really explosive still, and I maintain that Riverbend, if they play, as well as they can beat anybody, including Colonial Forge. That's just, you get a certain point where it's not as much consistency for the whole team. And, every now and then you lose a couple games. So number 3, I've got Chancellor. They moved them up a spot. They're 15-6, won against Caroline and at King George. They did lose against Eastern View, but they went 2-1. They're still one of the best teams in the area.
Yep, I agree.
Number 2, moving up a spot and getting pretty close to number 1 now. Fredericksburg Academy, 16-3, playing great basketball. They've got a lot of pieces on that team that can contribute in many, many ways. They got 2 wins this week, both on the road. Really impressive. Couple weeks for them. Stumbling over my words. Excuse me. They're good. They're good at basketball. Number 1, Colonial Forge. Really no change there. They did lose, even without Marco Haskins, and we're not sure when he will be ready to play. But they're still the best team in the area, and they did win at Stafford very convincingly anyway. So they've done nothing to convince me that they're not number 1 team right now, and I'm going to keep them there for the time being. Tough loss on the road at Hilton. Never an easy place to play up in Prince William County. So congratulations to Colonial Forge, our number 1 boys team. Real quick, if we can go through the pairings for the tournament playoffs coming up. Sure. In Conference 15, with Conference 4 being unset right now, at least officially. So Conference 15, the quarterfinals, we've got Friday night, Mountain View playing at Brook Point, 2 area teams, and then in the other quarterfinal, we've got Massaponics at North Stafford. Both Friday night games, both 2 area teams. The winners are going to go on to play Potomac and Freedom, respectively. So you've got these 4 area teams and the lower seededs on the bracket, but I think all of them are pretty dangerous seeds. It should be a very close matchups for those games you just mentioned. And then in Conference 22, we've got Fauquier playing at Chancellor. That's number 3 Chancellor, and that's one of the quarterfinals. You'd think Chancellor would get a bye, but apparently this is just a really deep conference. And then game 2 is Liberty at King George. The winners of those games are going to play at Eastern View and at Cortland, respectfully. So Cortland, Chancellor, if we could see them in the final, I'm looking forward to it. That would be a good one. So then for the women's in Conference 15 quarterfinals, we've got North Stafford at Brook Point. That's a Friday night game. Same with Freedom at Massaponics. Winners of those games are going to go on to play at Potomac and at number 2 Mountain View in the semifinals. That's a pretty deep conference too, I think, for the girls' side. Some good ball clubs. Absolutely. And then Conference 22 quarterfinals, we've got Eastern View at King George Friday night. Same with Fauquier at Cortland. And I'll take Cortland in that one. And then in the semifinals, those winners would play at number 5 Chancellor and at Liberty. So again, Cortland Chancellor possibility for the conference final. I'm excited for these Conference 22 playoffs to start. Exactly, and as you well know, being around this area, it doesn't matter what the sport is. When it's Cortland Chancellor, throw out the records because it's always a great, intense rivalry. We're going to take one more break on this edition of CVTV Sports Week in Review. Come back, talk some college basketball. University of Mary Washington women and men were in action Wednesday. We'll tell you how they did. Stay with us.